I used to recognize the moment when rescue was supposed to appear, the narrowing of options, the sense of standing at the edge of something that could not be crossed by ordinary means. On television, this was where the sky opened, or the tide turned, or someone arrived just in time. Help descended cleanly, unmistakably, from somewhere beyond the struggle. I absorbed that rhythm early. If things became dire enough, intervention would come from outside the mess, and my role was simply to endure it until it arrived. The night I needed help most did not follow that script. There was no dramatic brink, no flashing realization, just a steady accumulation of strain that made my breathing shallow and my thinking brittle. I remember sitting in the dark with my phone in my hand, scrolling through the same thoughts again and again, convinced that relief would look like escape. A solution, a breakthrough, something large enough to remove the problem entirely. When none appeared, the familiar undertow of self-blame arrived right on schedule. Maybe I hadn't tried hard enough. Maybe I hadn't waited long enough. Maybe the help I wanted required me to fall a little further first. What came instead was almost embarrassingly ordinary. A text message answered without advice. Someone who stayed on the phone while I repeated myself. A hand resting quietly between my shoulders. No one fixed anything. No one told me what I wanted to hear. No one turned the moment into a lesson. The circumstances remained exactly as they were, but something else changed. The isolation lifted. It took me a while to understand why this felt so unfamiliar. I had been trained to think of help as hierarchical. Someone stronger comes in and saves. Someone wiser intervenes. Someone higher up descends with answers. What I received instead was side by side, human, participatory. It didn't replace my judgment or take over my responsibility. It simply made weight bearable long enough for me to keep carrying it. The shift was subtle but permanent. I stopped looking upward whenever life became difficult. I started paying attention to what was already nearby. The friend who responded, the person who listened, the steady presence that asked nothing of me except honesty. I noticed how often support arrived through responsiveness rather than resolution, through companionship rather than answers. Now, when I watch stories where salvation sweeps in at the final moment, I still feel their pull. I understand why we love them, but I no longer confuse them with reality. The most meaningful help I've ever received didn't carry me away. It sat beside me. Not rescue, shared weight.